Good evening all, it's In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral here for the fourth time this week with myself, Ross Brierley. It is of course Ebor week at York and we've got 3 days down, and now we're going to get stuck in to the aforementioned big race of the week. Big race, biggest handicap of the year probably for many, targeted for weeks and months in advance. And we'll be having a look at this year's field and hopefully picking out a few value bets. We've had a fascinating day on day 3, of course, with Bradsell returning back with a bang to one of his favourite tracks. He is, of course, a horse who was a little bit unlucky in last year's Nunthorpe, but he got a perfect toe in today and everything went to plan. Never mind your Asforas versus Big Evs. It was all about Bradsell returning to the fray. And there was plenty of other talking points as well, which we will get stuck into in just a second. But if you are watching at home, hello to you. Who have we got? We've got Tom Leach, we've got Nick Scallon, Robert Green, Stevens 99, Mike Boy, Rod Panhard and James. Now, everyone at home has quite a lot in common with the rest of our panel because they're also not in the studio. So it's just me on me Todd, on me Jack Jones, as you might say, although his one I didn't do too well today, as we go through to tomorrow's card and reflect on today. So let's go up to a very, very windy Yorkshire, and it's not just poor Kealy who's supplying those gusts. How are you doing, Keels?
Yeah, not bad. I might have supplied a few gusts today, but good day in the end because I backed the last winner. It's my first one since the first race on Wednesday, so it hasn't been all plain sailing, but I've had a couple of great days up here. Unfortunately, not allowed to drink today because I have to be on here.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But it's I mean, it's a wonderful place, mate. It's a wonderful place, isn't it?
Beautiful, beautiful, brilliant racetrack, lovely people. Can't beat it.
Yeah, well, you're always welcome, mate. We'll allow you to move up. There's probably room for one or two more if you fancy moving up to Yorkshire. So apart from your winner in the last, under a cracking Tom Mark 1 ride to give William Haggas a birthday winner, what did you make of the rest of the card?
Yeah, interesting stuff, wasn't it? I mean, I didn't fancy Vauban at all, I must admit. Got that wrong. Probably jockey went a little bit too soon, apparently. He said so. He said that to Connections afterwards. So otherwise, he'd have won by further. So the plan is the Melbourne Cup again, by all accounts. Bradsell was excellent. Disappointing to me because I'm back believing, but no, Bradsell was very, very good. And obviously, Archie Watson's done really well to bring him back from injury to win a Group 1. Fantastic stuff. Yeah, I don't get why there's 100 grand maiden anywhere, to be honest. But Angelo Buonarroti sort of lived up to £2 million sales price, didn't he? Or he's on the way to anyway. But yeah, Treasure Time was very good in the last, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, really.
That was against the pace bias as well because the front two got it really easy up front and he managed to go up really well.
Yeah, really, very much mixed feelings for myself. As I said, I do stuff for ratio, so I was thrilled to bits. But when you back the second, you know, the head and the heart were in a right old battle in that final furlong. Yeah, he stayed on really nicely. Tom Segal, hello to you. Never mind the horses though. We've been talking about the way the track's been riding, and you know, it's been very much a jockey's week as well. You know, your Buicks, your Doyles, both Holly and James, Oisin Murphy. There's not been many for the little man. Well, I guess the jockeys, aren't they, to a certain extent? They're probably all under that banner. But if you know what I mean, it's been the cream has risen to the top a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. They tend to get the best rides, and it's the best meeting, or one of the best meetings, so it's not that surprising. I thought the thing I took out of it was that how badly wrong I got the Coventry Stakes. Cool Hoops Loop, the winner of the maiden, the 100,000, they both ran in the Coventry. It just seems that as soon as I thought it was a terrible race, everything that's running it keeps coming out and winning. So, you know, you live and learn, and you've got to upgrade that form. As I've been saying to you earlier in the week, I think Rashabar's a really good horse now. Whereas before the start of this week, before he ran in the morning, and you know, I wasn't convinced. But sometimes first impressions aren't right, and this was certainly not right on my case with the Coventry. I think it was probably a top class race.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've saying that about 2-year-olds, though, isn't it? Your first impressions are very difficult, and you know you will have races. The Convivial Maiden will be the same. You might have a Group 1 winner coming out of it, and then you might have a horse who runs for the next 4 years and never gets his head in front. You're going to have 100 rated horses running up against 70 rated horses, and This year's Coventry was a bit of an odd one because it just felt like every trainer up and down the country just threw a dart at it.
Yeah, I mean, they always do, but you normally sit there and you sort of think, oh, that was a good horse, that was a good race. It just looked different, didn't it? That's what I was trying to explain the other day about the whole of Royal Ascot. Visually, it didn't look like it was perfectly, the results have worked out, the ground was perfectly fine, but visually, normally you're expecting horses to rocket home at Ascot. They weren't really. Lots of horses were winning off the front at Ascot this year, and maybe that's why I got confused about the form in the Coventry. I was sitting there thinking, these can't be any good. This Rashford's, sort of made all the running really and stayed on, and he's an 80-1 shot. Got it completely wrong. The form's worked out really well, as has many of the races there. But at the time, it just looked a bit odd, and that's probably what's confused me and many others probably.
Yeah, but I guess I mean, like I said, not only breeding's changing, but like you said, people throw in hundreds of thousands of pounds at breeze up races as well. Maybe 2-year-old races are just changing a little bit, and we're going to have to adjust.
Well, definitely. I mean, look at the breeze up market. If you're spending 2 million, Ruling Court was third in the Acom, the one today. The two winners of the two Wathnan winners at Royal Ascot were both breeze up horses. Do you see what I mean? They're precocious 2-year-olds that are going to run. I mean, I think there's a misnomer that they tend to stop and don't go anywhere as 2-year-olds. But I think we're getting Justify horses now, and we're getting Galileo horses, and we're getting properly bred horses going to the breeze up. So as you say, I think it's changing. I think it's totally changing, and we've got to be aware of it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get stuck into tomorrow in just a second. But a good evening for the second time this week to Mr. John Hill. How are you doing, John?
Yeah, really good, thank you, chaps. I'm off the subs bench today. Simon Clare was meant to be on, so apologies if you pick your Radio Times up and your TV guys. You saw Simon Clare's name and expected to see him in the hot seat. It's myself, but no, we'll have a good evening, won't we, gents?
I've just got a vision there of like the world is changing, John. I imagine every single day they have to print a Radio Times for all the YouTube live streams. It would be.
I buy Radio Times once a year just before Christmas for the double pack. The 2 weeks worth of Christmas programs. Get my pencil out, circle the programs I want to watch every year. Tradition.
Yeah, and again, things are changing. I mean, you back in the day, if you needed to swat a fly, you just be able to reach for a Radio Times easily, but it's only around Christmas time you get to do that, John.
I use the slipper now. Ross.
Ah, right, you've got to that age.
Get them one of those electric tennis rackets. They're brilliant.
That's what you need. Yeah, zap them.
John, you sound like you're right in tune with the kids. You got a Radio Times and slippers.
Yeah, absolutely. John,
I tell you what about I've just been to Bordeaux for 2 weeks and I'm absolutely eaten alive by mosquitoes. So I could have done with Radio Times then to whack them. But you can't see them. They're so small. I think there were the tiger ones out there this year. Now, they are lethal, I tell you.
Lovely stuff. Anyway, there's some racing on tomorrow, John. So what's the price boost for Ebor Day?
Yes, we've got a few price boosts. Let's get on to them, shall we? Obviously, right up till 7 o'clock, these price boosts are available. In the opening race, the Strensall Stakes, See the Fire or Ali and Nabi, either of those two horses to win by a length or more. That's available at 11-4 from 9-4. And then later in the card, the Melrose, we've got a different kind of boost here. Dramatic Star and the Equator, both to finish in the first 4. Should work out around about 9-2 this one. We're pushing it out to 6-1. That'll be available up until 7 o'clock, as I say. So a couple available right now, and we'll go through a few specials as we go through the card.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Again, if you're on the chat, if you put your nap for Ebor Day in capital letters, a little line about why you're back in it, I'll try and squeeze in as many as possible. Right, day 4 of York coming up in just a second. Let's scan that QR code if you're on your computer and you've got your phone to hand and join the Racing Post Insider WhatsApp group. But now it's a shout out to whoever put on the comments on last night's show, less of the waffle, more of the tips. I hope you enjoyed that first 10 minutes. Let's get stuck in to York then, shall we? Opening up.
I prefer it the other way, Ross. Can we have more waffle, less tip?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be up for that as well. I mean, it does have the air of, like I said, 4 people losing their mind in an old people's home so far, but I quite like it. I quite like it. The Strensall Stakes then is up next at the first race on day 4 at York. Big field for this one, which is a little bit of a rarity. See the Fire is 5-2 favourites. 7-2 Al Yanabi. Nth Jar is 4-1. Task Force 7-1. Phantom Flight 8-1. Haunted Dream 10s. Royal Dubai 16s and Flight Plan 28-1. Not the outsider of the lot, because Check and Challenge also goes. He tends to turn up in these races time and time again. He's yet to prove that he is good enough, though. But we've got 2 3-year-olds at the top of the betting here again, and obviously the form lines that, in particular, See the Fire has been involved in are pretty strong. They've both, to be fair, run into your likes of your City of Troyes and your Rosalians. This is very much a drop in grade and an easier division, Tom Segal. But we've got York horses in here as well, and horses who've been running more than creditably in Group 2s and Group 3s as well. It's open stuff, but the 3-year-olds dominate.
Yeah, I mean, they do. The issue I thought here was maybe a lack of pace. I didn't know what was going to go on, really. Maybe Oisin Murphy will take the bull by the horns and go on with See the Fire, but I'm surprised she's dropping back in trip. I thought, if anything, she was going to go up in trip. I thought the Yorkshire Oaks might be her race. In fact, I would probably back her to win the Yorkshire Oaks she's run there, but she's coming back in trip here. She's clearly got the best form, hasn't she? The second in the Nassau. It was a really good run. Did really well on the sectionals to finish as close as she did. If things go smoothly for her, I expect her to go really well. Al Yanabi's a difficult one, isn't he? Because before his last run at Newbury, you'd have thought this was, everything was in his. He had the world at his feet, really. He was, 5th, 6th in both the St James's Palace and the Guinea, sort of around that position. They've worked out really well, but it was really disappointing last time. I see Jim Crowley keeps faith with him. I did think Enfajar was quite an interesting rival against him, given that how well he won the John Smith's Cup. I think he'll drop him back in trip, and maybe he'll go on. I'm not sure. There's a few. What price is Phantom Flight? Is he still running in there? I can't see him on my phone.
He's 8-1. He's been nibbled at. I thought he was interesting.
Yeah, I quite like him. George Scott, the Arla Jura man, he's done well with these horses. Clearly didn't stay a mile and a half last time. Looked good when he beat Al Arsi and Al Yanabi at Newbury on his comeback. And the one thing I most liked about him was when he was. I followed him over a cliff after he'd won a race at this meeting. I think he won the last race today by 5 lengths, beating Spirit Dancer on the snaff in a great time. And I followed him over a cliff after that, thinking that he had to be a group horse in the making. Coming back to York for the first time, I think this trip will suit him. Could get the race run to suit as well, because I would expect him to be up with the pace. So I might throw a few quid on Enfajar and Phantom Flight against the 3-year-olds.
Yeah, Enfajar is 2 for 2 for Jack Mitchell as well. And Phantom Flight, really interesting. Like I said, he beat Spirit Dancer, who won this race last year, didn't he? As well. So he.
19 rated, isn't he now, Spirit Dancer? I mean, that's not 5 lengths, not bad, is it?
No, it's very, very good. And he was kind of off the rail at Goodwood as well last time. He didn't quite get home, but he wasn't beaten far. And he could dictate matters here in the Strensall Stakes. What did you make of this opener, Paul Kealy?
Well, I'm hoping that they will bite the bullet and see sense and make the running with See the Fire. I think if she'd have been ridden prominently in the Nassau, she'd have won. They keep trying to hold her up because she can be a bit keen, but her dam was the same. She won her Job Monty from the front despite pulling. Her dam Bathsheba won loads of races from the front despite pulling. It's just a family trait, and I think she needs to be up with the pace. Her strength is galloping rather than quickening up. And hopefully she'll get a prominent ride tomorrow and win. And I do, like Tom, see one of the dangers at least being Phantom Flight. Also, I backed him at Goodwood last time. He didn't quite stay, but he ran a cracking race. He's obviously still in fine form, and he has got that York course form as well. So they'd be the 2 for me, but I'm very much in the See the Fire camp.
Okay, See the Fire and 5-2. Also worth throwing Haunted Dream into this as well. He's got a good York record and won at Goodwood last time out. John Hill, the Strensall Stakes.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Jim Crowley this morning to do his Coral blog, actually, and obviously he's had the choice of the two Shadwell runners. He's stuck his faith in Ali Yarbi still, based on his Guineas form and his St James's Palace Stakes form. He actually said he rode him from the front of the field at Newbury last time. Didn't suit the horse at all, so I think he's going to drop him in this time around. He's probably been forced his hand, really, because he's been drawn in stone 9, which obviously not ideal, is it, really, at York from the outside there? But I think he'll drop him in. He's confident of a big run from Ali Yarbi, so... yeah, Jim Crowley, he's decided of the two, but he did stress that Enfijar, he's capable of winning this race. Won the John Smith's Cup early in the season. Good run at Goodwood last time. So it's a tough choice, but he's stuck with Banning RB, and that's my selection here.
Okay, thank you very much, John. As for everyone at home, what have we got? Burton Ernie, good evening to you. Phantom Flight nailed on, brought to you by the letters C and D, potentially. It's what else have we got? Dare to Hope's Mike Boy's Nap later on the card. Elliot Ryan says more waffle, and Tommy Daniel says more waffle than a giant family pack of bird's eye potato waffles. So thank you everyone for watching at home. That's the Strensall Stakes then. Moving on to the Melrose, a mini Ebor, potentially a springboard for a horse to challenge for at the St Leger next month. It'd be nice to get a few horses who aren't trained by Aidan O'Brien into the mix. Dramatic Star 6-1 with Tactician. Wild Wave 7-1. Speaking of Aidan O'Brien, the Equator is 7-1. Reaching High 15-2. Champagne Prince 8-1. Spaceport 11-1. Too Bossy for Us 11-1. And then bigger prices the rest, including Table Talk, who was eye-catching last time out. Going Remote and Imperial Sovereign, who drops in grade here for this mile 6 handicap. 16 runners, so we've got a nice shape each way to this. 87 grand to the winner. Certainly a wide open contest. On paper, I kind of looked at this and thought maybe it's not as strong as we've had over the past few years. You've not got as many sort of unexposed handicap debutants, Paul Kealy. You've had a few over the past year that have really shown top quality form already, come into this and then prove again. Most of these have at least shown their hand to some extent in handicaps, albeit some of them have had absolutely no chance, like Dramatic Star in that farcical Haydock race.
Yeah, absolutely. Dramatic Star slipped. I mean, he got to remember he was favourite in the race that was won by Alignment Stars, who has won since at Goodwood, and he was very strong in the betting that day. So you can understand why he's fancied. This race, year in, year out, you get a good horse in this race. So I mean, you just have to look at the winners, don't you? Middle Earth won it last year. Solcombe in 2022 was second in the Melbourne Cup. Coltrane and Hamish are on there as well in recent years. So something that wins this will end up being very good. We're just trying to work out what it is. I came down on Reaching High, just because he's been a slow burner for Sir Michael Stout and improved every time he stepped up in trip. He went up to this trip last time at Wolverhampton and won by 7.5 lengths. Not sure the trainer would have been 100% pleased with that Racing League win under Luke Morris, but I mean, he just looked in a completely different league to his rivals that day. It wasn't the first time he'd shown signs of being a decent horse, because he'd pulled 11 lengths clear with the winner the time before over a much shorter trip at Windsor, and the third in that race won his next two. So Reaching High for me, he's out of Gold Cup winner Estimate. He's a half brother to this year's Northumberland Plate second evaluation, so I think he's very good.
Yeah, I agree. I backed him at Windsor on his penultimate start, and all the way, I mean, 2 furlongs from home, I thought this horse is dotted up. He's dotted up. Come on, go past. But he just didn't have the change of gear. But yeah, this the Stain trip clearly brought out a good chunk of improvement in him last time out. I thought Wild Ways when he won at Doncaster, Tom, pretty much a note went next to him for me. And this is a Melrose horse, this is an absolute perfect race for him. Haydock last time out again, you can put a line through that. Oisin Murphy's ridden 2 horses in this past 5 years and won on them both, and it could be he's obviously having a good week. Andrew Balding's having a half decent week. He could have a good day tomorrow. I thought he was interesting. What did you like?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said originally. I didn't think it was that deep as Melrose goes. I thought there were 4 obvious ones. The 2 you both mentioned, Dramatic Star and Champagne Prince, who should have won at the Segal Cup the other day. I think both those, the Dramatic Star, Champagne Prince, and Reaching High, the one Keels mentioned, have got, and Wild Waves have all got pedigrees that suggest they're going to stay this and further. Their dams have all won, over further and beyond. So I thought it was between those four. After writing so many column inches about Champagne Prince, I couldn't leave him unbacked this time. But I do like. I mean, I think it's between the four. It sounds. I didn't really see anything coming from out the woodwork to win it. Not splitting any atoms in saying that, but I just slightly prefer Champagne Prince.
Okay. The only one who's not on the page that I thought was a little bit interesting was Table Talk, who's related to one of Mark Johnston's horses called Drill Sergeant from a few years ago, who was a proper, not top class, but he was a hugely consistent mile 6 horse in big handicaps and group races, wasn't he? He ran on at Ascot last time out, shaping like he'd relish this trip, and again, I mean, you could have pretty much follow anything out of that derby. And have done all right. And Cambu was just behind him. He won last night easily. Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I suppose maybe I missed him, but I don't know. I mean, I'm very scared of Dramatic Star, just because of William Haggis's record in the race and his bullishness about him. And he said on a few places that this was his best bet of the meeting, his best chance of the meeting. And we saw what happened in the last day. I mean, it would have been a bit of a roller coaster week for him until that, but I have a feeling this horse is, there's absolutely no chance on God's earth it's not better than an 87 rated horse. None whatsoever. It's just whether he'll show that tomorrow on his first attempt at York and his first attempt at a handicap, really having been stopped to a walk at Haydock last time.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at that 87 and you think, yeah, crikey, this horse isn't at least a 97 horse by the end of the season. You'd be surprised. John Hill, the Melrose Handicap, any extra places, any price boosts, any tasty opinions?
Yeah, well, we've got extra place, so 5 places instead of 4 for each way backers, so that's good news straight away. The one that you mentioned there has actually been nibbled at, funny enough, Ross. What is it again? Table Talk, 16 to 1 from 20, so a bit of a nibble already on Table Talk. The one, and another horse that's not been mentioned, the Equator, obviously. Been a great week for Aidan O'Brien and the Ballydoyle team. Can they bang another winner here? He's 7 to 1 in the betting. And just finally, just mention that price boost. Not for everyone, this is it. Dramatic Star and the Equator, both to finish in the first 4. That's available at 6 to 1.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I looked at this race and immediately put a line through the Equator. So.
Yeah.
I didn't mention him. Dramatic Star for HUFC 1997. He says it's a lengths job. Hasn't said how many lengths, but he says it's a lengths job. And the producer Sam says that joke was dreadful. But it was on a slight delay there, so maybe he's in the southern hemisphere watching. Anyway, the 3 o'clock at York. Let's move on to the City of York Stakes. Then 7 furlong, Group 2, of course. Albeit again, everyone banging the drum for a better 7 furlong campaign throughout the season. Should this be a Group 1? Probably, and we've got 2 Group 1 horses at the top of the betting in the shape of Audience at 5 to 4 and Kinross at 11 to 4. Lake Forest is 4 to 1. Should have been a Ring 15 to 2. Art Power 12 to 1. Faffatino 33s. Briege 40s and 5,000 to 1 is 66 to 1. But his name is probably a more accurate display of how he's going to go in this City of York Stakes. But it's another clash between Audience and Kinross. This race last year, Kinross beat Audience, but Audience is now a 5-year-old and clearly a bit smarter, a bit stronger, a bit savvier. And he beat Kinross last time out under a cracking ride at Goodwood. Now, Ross Orion's been quite vocal, Tom, in saying that basically he cocked up and he won't make the same mistake again. But there's still a possibility that Audience is just starting to get better as Kinross comes slightly on the downgrade.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, he's a much younger horse, isn't he? But yeah, I don't know. The audience did run badly in this race last year, didn't he? Don't like backing horse.
We got beat 3/4 of the length.
Yeah, he did. He ran fine. But Kinross got past him last year, 5 to 4. Listen, I think Audience will probably win again. This year's form has been exceptional, isn't it? Really. I mean, we looked at the Lockinge and said it was a joke, and it's clearly not a joke. Then he ran a blinder. He went off. He did too much too soon. Definitely in the Queen Anne. Still did okay, and then he was brilliant, I thought, last time at Goodwood. I know they said that he got clear and away from them, but he still won by a distance, didn't he? He won by miles. So I think Kinross will get a lot closer, but I expect Audience to win again, really. Lake Forest. Lake Poet for a second. Then Lake Forest is another one that he got thrown the occasion. He won the Gimcrack last, isn't he? Likes York. Everything he does suggests he's going to like 7 furlongs. He just keeps finishing off. He has to prove he likes 7 furlongs. I always think, I've said this a million times, I always think that sprinting form's a lot worse than 7 furlong form and a mile form. So he maybe has to step up again to beat these two. But he's not out of it. Didn't really fancy should have been a ring, but lots of people tell me he's got a chance. I think Audience will win, and I think Kinross is the danger. But you don't need me on here to tell you that.
No, fair enough. But again, sometimes we don't want to overcomplicate it. I mean, Lake Forest, he should appreciate 7. I mean, all his relatives are. I mean, quite frankly, he shouldn't have been winning as a 2-year-old over 6 furlongs. So, but he still has to go and prove it. But yeah, Audience, Paul Kealy has. Yeah, run to RPRs of what was it, 1-2-3 and 1-2-4 twice this season, and then one time in between that was when he was a more than creditable 5th at Royal Ascot. So
yeah, I mean, Royal Ascot, they went hard enough over a very stiff mile, and it's probably not for him. But those 2 other bits of form, I mean, it's not very often you will see a group race with a horse officially a minimum of £12 better than everything else on BHA figures, and is against. And I think it's just because he's a 5-year-old and people haven't really warmed to him. But yeah, he's got the best born by a country mile. He did bolt up last time in the Lennox. I mean, Kinross is sort of routinely 2nd or 3rd in that race, isn't he? And then comes on. And the sectionals boys will tell you that he absolutely flew home and was given no chance because he was miles off it. But who's to say that we're not going to get the same sort of pace scenario tomorrow? So I think the ball is very much in Audience's court. I'll be surprised if he doesn't win, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, very similar. I mean, Kinross was similar last year. He was the class act. He went and won Space Blues as the class act a few years ago. He went and won. So, yeah, he's just having a right old year. His Audience, John, and yeah, he's going to be hard to beat here.
He is, yeah. I think Kills is on the nail on the head there. He's not a fashionable horse for some reason, is he? The punters have just not latched onto him. People have not latched onto him, but. Can't know what he's achieved this year. He's miles clear on ratings here, 1-2-4, a long way clear of everyone else. And I actually like, funny enough, our special here, Audience to win by over 1 1/4 length. That's available at 7-2. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to win well tomorrow. So I'd be taking that 7-2 there for once, one of our specials.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it's 7 furlong. 7 furlong horses aren't particularly fashionable, are they? And I would say of all the Group 1s, the Lock-in just probably the least fashionable one of those as well. So he's kind of won the races that people turn their nose up at, but he keeps on doing it well. Audience then 5-4 for the City of York Stakes. Plenty of people just saying that Audience will win and to move on. Apart from Mike Boy, who might be taking him on. So the City of York Stakes then, Audience 5-4. Speaking of which, if you're watching at home, you are our audience. Make sure you like the stream. Okay, thank you very much. My producer appreciated that more than the joke. The Ebor then. Let's get stuck into this, shall we? A mile and 6, or just shy of a mile and 6, 300 grand on the table. Not this table, unfortunately. I certainly wouldn't finish this show if it was. Queenstown 13-2 favourite. Hip Hop Deloire is 7-1. Epic Poet is 8-1. Burdett Road 10s with Magical Zoe. Nakib is 11-1. 12-1 Fairbanks and Sea King. It's a big race in a big field. So let's have a look at what else we've got. We've got Relentless Voyager in there as well. We'll have a quick look at page 2. Old friends like My Mate Mozzie and Ziggy, who's got course form as well. Iron Lion, Chillingham for Ed Bethel and Callum Rodriguez could appreciate this test. And then a few other horses like Northumberland Plate, One Smooth Operator. He won at Newcastle in good fashion. And Yashinu ran quite well last year as a 25-1 shot and could get involved as well. But all week, Paul Kealy, at York in general, but especially this year, it's low draws, low draws, low draws. But every single year, the Ebor completely blows that apart. And obviously track position is still important, but after about a furlong, it's a completely different race to what it looks like on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know why a mile 2 furlong around York, you've got to be drawn low. We saw that in the John Smiths. We've seen that in races here this week. But a mile and 6, it's the complete opposite, and it has been for a long while. I went back. It's the last, every running this century. 18 of the 24 been won by horses drawn 14 or higher. That's 75% of the winners from four, just about 40% of the runners. So, you start looking at these that have been well back recently. Magical Zoe, Hip Hop de Loire, Burdett Road, all drawn 1, 2, 3. It's not insurmountable because there have been winners from real low draws. But when you look at the stats, you've got to think I want to be leaning high. And the two I backed anti-post just happened to get high draws, so I was sticking with them. One of them is Relentless Voyager in 20, the other one's Chillingham in 18. Now, Relentless Voyager is top weight, but he has earned it. He's just run really well every time this season, hacked up in that race. Epsom on Derby Day, finished third in a steadily run race that didn't suit, but really stuck his head down all the way to the line. I liked his attitude there. And then he got beaten, a length by Al Arzi at Goodwood. Now, Al Arzi might have won a little bit cosily, but he also won very cosily next time at Newbury as well. And he's got Group 1 ability, that horse, and Relentless Voyager's run him close. So I think he's still fairly treated. Off 108 for Andrew Baldwin, who is absolutely mustard with stayers, as we know. And Chillingham, the other one. I quite like him. I just think he's unexposed for 5 years. Only run 13 times. Keeps running well. He's been threatening, in my book anyway, to win a decent prize. Ran really well at Ripon 2 starts ago. And last time, he was the only horse to come from off the pace when finishing third over a mile and a half. It looked as though going back up to a mile of 6 would really suit him. He's only run that distance twice. Fourth to Vauban in the Copper Horse last year, and a half length second to Pridwen when he was rated 94, and he's won two handicaps off 99 and 105 since then. So I think he's perfectly well handicapped off 96. There'd be my 2 each way against the field.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Paul Kealy. A couple of high-drawn horses then for Keels in the Ebor. What was on your short/long list, Tom?
About 17 of them, Ross.
Yeah, that's about right.
I thought it was an absolutely cracking handicap in which you could make cases for nearly everything. Keels made 2 fantastic cases there for those 2. You can make similar cases for about 10 others, at least, I think. As for the draw, I don't know whether those high numbers were winning when they definitely came up the stand side. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're going to come up the stand side tomorrow. So I'm not ruling out the low numbers. I'm just not going to take any notice of it. I get that high numbers have been doing well recently, but they all came up the stand side. On what we've seen so far this week, it would be surprising. Yeah. It's literally,
I agree completely. But of all the races, pretty much all season, this is always the most surprising for me. Again, my opinion completely changes after a furlong. I mean, it does anyway in races anyway. But in particular in the Ebor, they've done some, bizarre things over the years, and I don't know. For some reason, it just seems to go to everyone says. I don't know if you've got because it's different types of horses as well. Obviously, you've got horses like your Magical Zoe, Irish jumps horses coming over as well. Horses that have been aimed at it for the whole season. I don't know. It just seems to go a bit mad.
Yeah, and look, we had one staying handicap already this week, and it was won by the horse drawn on the outside stall, wasn't it? Extensio.
Yeah.
So it's just about getting a position. I don't think they'll come up the stand side necessarily. And if they go a strong pace, it might be difficult for those drawn high. They might have to use up a bit of gas and go a bit wide. But as I say, it's nothing that I'm taking into account at all. As for what's going to win it, when I did it anti-post, I was on Epic Poet and Nakib. Mm-hmm. I spent about 5 hours going through it today, and I fancied so many that I thought, forget it, stick with the ones you originally fancied. So I've stuck with them for the fact that Epic Poet's been an eye catcher, likes York. His form behind Crystal Black at Ascot looks really good. Now that day, he looked like he's going to stay a mile and 6. Don't know if he will. Think he might do. Not certain to. But I thought he'd run really well. The other one was Nakib, just because I liked his run in the mile and a half race or the mile and 6 race at Ascot, where he just got stopped badly and then he got trapped out the back. It's Baid's brother. He got trapped out the back in one of the most ridiculously slowly run races at Newbury the other day and did really well to get where he is. This is a step up in class. It was only Temporize he couldn't get past last time, so he's got to step up again. But I think they're trained by O'Meara and Haggis. And if you're asking me which 2 trainers would have the Ebor on their mind at the start of the season, it would be, it would be literally circling the Ebor. It would be them. So they'll do for me. I fully get Hills' case for his 2. I fully get cases for loads and loads of others. But it's one of those, you know, it's a 10 to 1 the field race. That's what it should be, and that's what I think it might end up being.
Yeah, I mean, again, the draw has pickled my brain a little bit, but the one that was on my shortlist before I even kind of looked at the draws was Magical Zoe. I mean, she's 3 from 4 on good ground. She probably should be 4 from 4 as well. She got stopped at Fairy House last time out in her run. Henry de Bromhead sent Term of Endearment over to win twice at York and Goodwood as well. He even had a second in the bloody Racing League last night. I mean, he's a cracking trainer anyway, but just interesting that maybe a few more trainers are going, all right, Willie Mullins, let's play your game, and actually maybe there's some money to be made on the flat in these staying handicaps and maybe group races. But yeah, she's she's a classy hurdler. She comes out of the race last time out. I just everything on paper. If that one box isn't bad, everything looks spot on for her, I thought.
Yeah, same for Burdett Road. I don't listen. The one horse I would never back is the Willie Mullins horse, simply because he was beaten in a maiden hurdle last time, and that's the only form we've got on him from Germany. But it's Willie Mullins at the end of the day. What is he, 7 to 1? He's clearly been well backed, but he would be the one at the top of the market that I could never back. Doesn't say I'm surprised. He could easily win because it's Willie Mullins at the end of the day. But as you say, Magical Zoe, Burdett Road, what's wrong with him? You know, former Royal Ascot winner, looks to be coming back last time. As I say, could make a case for 16 or 17 of them.
Yeah, there's also, you're a little bit dismissive of Fairbanks the other day, I thought, but he was drawn in box 1 at Ascot, got stuck all the way down that inside rail. He ran badly on soft ground at Thirst last year, but you take those two out, and his form's first, second, and he looks, again, good ground, mile and 6, drawn 15, Andrew Balding. I just didn't like. I don't like the Goodwood form. I really don't, and that's the only thing. They all finished. 10 of them finished within a length of each other, and Align the Stars was lapped today, wasn't he? So I just don't know. I think he'll have to step up to win this. I think this looks a much tougher task for him. Yeah, I agree.
As you say, he can win. He can win. He can definitely win. He's an improving horse, and he pulls too hard. So if he settled, I'm not ruling him out.
What about you, Kealy? Is there any in here that would hurt if they won?
Oh God! I mean, it is, as a handicap full of high-class handicappers, I've backed them all at one point or in my life. I think I backed Yashin last year. I actually ran a fine race to finish 7th. Now, I'd write off his Northumberland plate run. It was his first time on the all-weather for a start. So he could definitely run very well, couldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, they've given him a wind up, haven't they? He's been running. I mean, he's been running the same races as Queenstown has pretty much, and Queenstown's 13 to 2, and Yashin's 25 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, he can definitely be a player at his best, and of course he's got a high draw as well, which I'm looking forward to. Magical Zoe. David Jennings has been going on about Magical Zoe for the last 6 months. So it'd be interesting to see what she does. I don't think she looks particularly well handicapped in my eyes on what she's done on the flat, but she's also got stall 1 to deal with as well, which would put me off in a big way. Although, like Tom said, if they stay on the far side, it might all play out differently this year. You don't know.
Yeah.
Fairbanks, again, he's very keen, isn't he? And Epic Poet would annoy me because I thought I had him down as being an Ebor horse for a while. Especially after he finished 5th in the John Smiths, but then Tom put him up, and I missed all the prices, and I'm not on, and I can't back him now.
Okay, fair enough. I would say that Magical Zoe was given absurd weight in the county hurdle, and she's here off lower than what he won it last year.
Yeah, she's interesting on hurdles form, but not particularly on flat form. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, fair enough.
What about One Smooth Operator? Are we completely? I watched the Northumberland Plate again this morning a couple of times. I don't think I've ever seen a horse win a race like that as easily as he did. Now it's not great form, and he's got nothing like his all-weather form on turf. But my God, he was good that day. If I don't know, I wouldn't rule him out either. He was incredibly impressive.
Yeah, and said it's true. And Brian Ellison had a couple. He had a bit. Tolstoy won it last night at Newcastle. He should have had another winner as well. So maybe they're just clicking into gear. You couldn't entirely rule him out. He's a 25 to 1 shot. All right, that's most of the field covered, I think. Let's have a look at the chat. Relentless Voyager for me, Roscoe says Gary Stewart. Good evening to you. Have a saver on Magical Zoe. Yashin each way also for Mike Boy and several others. There's lots of money for Sea King. Says a few. And diddle-dee-dee. What else have we got? Anything else? Chillingham each way all day. Form an orderly queue, says David Deere. John, any horses? I'm pretty sure we've mentioned all the horses, John. So what have you got to throw in?
Covered everything. Yeah, we'll just mention our special here. Any Irish horse to win the race, that's available at 11 to 8 from even money. So look, it's a strong hand of Irish horses, isn't it? Queenstown and Magical Zoe for all that in there as well. So a good chance of an Irish train winner of the race. We're also going 5 places instead of 4. That should be standard, shouldn't it, this year in a field like this? But 5 places for each way backers. And Nakib, Jim Crawley, just a word on him. Expects he'll be held up, needs a bit of luck in running, but certainly thinks he's the right profile, right hot kind of profile to win this kind of race. And he did win it in 2018, didn't he, Jim Crawley? Can you remember the horse he won this race on board?
Mustajeeb? No. Was it Mustajeeb?
Muntaha, well done.
That's it.
3 points for Mr. Tom Segal.
Thank you very much. It's about the only thing I've got. It's flat season.
It was Mustajeeb was the year after, wasn't it? It was a Joe Line. So I mean, it'd be a good, be quite a mastermind speciality, wouldn't it? Sheikh Hamdam horses. That'd be a good one. I'm sorry, it wasn't Mustajeeb. It was Masterjeeb and Muntaha.
Too much flour, Ross. Come on, not back with the horses.
Yeah,
not enough.
We've got 20 minutes, yeah. We've got 20 minutes. If you, what would your racing speciality? If you got a mastermind, Tom Segal, what would your racing speciality be?
For classic winners of the 70s and 80s.
It'd be what? Sorry, say that again.
Classic winners in the 1970s and 80s, probably.
Classic winners in the 70s and 80s. Nice. Paul Kealy.
Nothing, because it requires a memory, and I haven't got one these days.
Fair enough. And Paul Kealy's on today. His specialist subject is what he did yesterday.
In the last half hour, more like.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, three more to go then on Ebor Day as we move on to the big sprint handicap, the 410, 19 of them lining up. Tom Segal might have spent 5 hours going through the Ebor. He'll have spent 5 seconds going through this one, and he'll probably pick the winner in a tri-cast, and his selections in the big race will finish out the back of the telly. But that's how it works. Apollo 1 and Billy Joe are 13-2. Dare to Hope 7-1 with Elman Jed. 8-1 Two Tribes. Summergan 9-1. Cover Up 10s. Comanche Falls 10s. Al Bashir dedicated in this last year. He's also 10s. Harry 3s. Of course, in this is form. He's in here at Dark 30. He's got Duck Eggs, but he's a York horse on his day as well, and there's loads of other horses that will break your hearts, like Admiral D in there as well, and Jahangir, who looked really good at Thirsk and drops back to sprinting, which I think is a good move. But plenty of these will be, not necessarily, I think, sort of plotted up for this. In particular, I think Summergan last year, he was placed in the Great St Wilfrid and then went on and dead heated in this. Paul Kealy, he's an old friend of yours. He's 10 years old now, but
he's an old friend of everyone, isn't he?
Absolutely.
I mean, he won it from stall 2 years ago. He dead heated from, I think, 20 last year. He's a cracking horse. He finishes fast. He just lacks that final boot nowadays, doesn't he? And I don't know whether he'll come back or not. He might do. I mean, some bookmakers playing 6 places. I mean, I'm sure he'll be in the first 6 because these have run really hard. They run really hard here, don't they? And it suits him down to the ground. So can't see him run well. I backed 2 others though instead. I backed a 3-year-old, Two Tribes. I think he's a horse in danger of becoming a pretty good sprinter. He hasn't quite worked for him yet, but you know, he's second to James's Delight at Newmarket early in the season. It's a really good piece of form, and his 4th running on from in a race where the winner made all at Newmarket is also good form too. And it didn't work out for him quite so much at Ascot last time, but I think he wants a strong run 6 rather than a hard 5 anyway. So I think he's got a big shout. And I'd backed Anti-Post after he won at Windsor, Lucky Man, the same trainer as Lucky Man, Victor Spencer, because he's got some really good York form, and I thought he might squeeze in under his penalty, and he would have done. But I bumped into Spencer last night, and he quite likes the chances of Two Tribes as well. So, and he's absolutely flying. So that was good enough for me. But I have chucked a couple of quid on one you mentioned earlier as well, Admiral D. Now, I half expect the plan for him to be Air again, because he was a close 7th in the Air Gold Cup 2 years ago, and he was 3rd in the Silver Cup last year. But he is on a really, really nice mark, and he was quite eye-catching after 5 months off last time, finishing strongly as he tends to. There's every chance he's going to get rushed off his feet at York, but he has one run to his name now. I think it was a close 6th to not Dark 30. It was a close 6 in the big 3-year-old handicap 2 years ago off a £10 higher mark, and it was a good run. I mean, he had horses like Anaf and Lethal Levi were only just in front of him. If he gets anywhere near that form, he's a massive player. All depends on whether he gets rushed off, but he's a big price. And it was Harry 3 that won the race. He's in the field.
Yeah, it was Harry 3 beat Lucky Man in that with Lethal Levi and Anaf. Yeah. Okay.
A good piece of form, and he's back here. I mean, they're Morton-based, the owners, but I do half expect it, because he likes Air, that is the long-term plan.
Okay. What did you make of this the sprint handicap, then, Mr. Tom Segal? The clock is ticking as ever. You have 60 seconds.
The first thing to say is, Mr. Kealy, you told me you were going to give up with cliff horses. Admiral D is your biggest cliff horse in the history of the world. You told me last week you were giving up on them. And you're back. It's a week later, you're back on.
I've got many, many more cliff horses than Admiral D, mate. I mean, I haven't backed him for a long while. I will back him here. Well, I have backed him here, and I probably will back him at Air.
Yeah,
here's one of them.
Yeah, might be a phrase, but he's definitely well handicapped now. Listen, I backed Ramazan last week in the Great St Wilfrid. I thought he had a great chance. He got comprehensively walloped by Dare to Hope, and my 5-second analysis told me that Dare to Hope was an incredibly well handicapped horse, because he beat the rest that raced around him very, very easily.
Already established, Tom, that you actually spend about 2 hours on these races.
Yeah, but that's a fraction of his analysis on the Ebor.
Yeah, some of them 5 o'clock. No, and I just thought when these sprinters get in a rhythm like he was, he's got good York form. He was 4th in the Rage of Bambi race the other day when he was drawn right on the wide outside. I just think when sprinters get on a roll like he was, they're very hard to stop. And if he's in the same form, he's definitely capable of winning off 94. He's £6 higher here. It's just whether this is a lot better race at a different track. But if he's in the same form, I think it's got to go really well. Don't know whether his draw's any good. Being, as Keel says, I do take longer than I say, but there was best pace I thought was high, and that would slightly concern me because he's drawn in stall 3. But Apollo 1 is over that side, so I don't think it'll be too much of an issue.
No, I also thought, Cover Up raced very keenly, didn't it, Goodwood? I thought he might bring him into the race as well. But yeah, I mean, his York record, I think, Dead Hope is 2-4-3-4 or something, and he's been a little bit unlucky in those. But yeah, these York sprinters tend to come back year in year out, and they're so competitive. I mean, even a 10% strike rate at York's pretty good, isn't it? So, okay, 30-2 joint favourites then, John Hill, for the sprint handicap.
Yeah, 5 places here instead of 4, and I quite like the chances of Summergand, actually. I think he's going to be laid out for this, as you mentioned earlier, Ross. And funny enough, we've got a Oisin Murphy special as well tomorrow. The former champion jockey to ride 2 winners or more. That's available at 3-1. And obviously, in the opening race of the card, he's got See the Fire, hasn't he? So he's got some decent chances. It's been a good week for him so far as well, hasn't it, Oisin Murphy? So maybe he'll finish off with a bang on the final day.
Okay, thank you very much. David Deere says Elmond Jet is the bet of the day. Some again, we're getting the places. Stall 6 and Ocean on board says Dunners. And what else have we got? Al Bashir, no thanks without Holly, says Mike Boy. 2 more races to go at York then on Ebor Day. Just the 17 juveniles here over 5 furlongs for this listed race. With, like I said, the juvenile form kind of all over the shop, but we're getting big fields up and down. Listed and group races for the juveniles this year. Mr. Lightside, though, 5-2 favourite here. Tropical Storm 3-1. Magnum Force 17-2. Make Haste 9-1. Over to Tom for the pronunciation of number 12, which I can never remember.
You haven't got my phone in front of me.
Of course. You know, it's I would say Vingegaard, but obviously it's not.
Yeah, Vingegaard. Vingago, yeah, the old cyclist.
There you go, Vingago. Thank you very much. River Seine 11-1, Blue Zodiac 12, Tsuyoshi 20s, and bigger the rest. Yeah, this isn't often a sort of a forgotten race on the card, Tom Segal. It's often a 7 or 8 runner contest with a few horses thinking, oh, we've been beaten in your Molecombe and whatnot. We'll go for this. But everything's turned up. You've got your Super Sprint form, you've got your Molecombe form, you've got your Norfolk forms. This is a really good renewal, I thought.
Yeah, very, very, very classy renewal. Always is. It's always good. Mr. Lightside, obviously the interesting one. He showed tremendous pace, didn't he, at Goodwood? I know Keels backed him that day, and I thought, coming to the furlong part, I thought he was going to win. I thought they were never going to get past him. He was well back that day as well, and he's clearly one of the ones. I just slightly preferred Tropical Storm. Oisin Murphy came in after riding Cool Hoof Luke today and said, "Oh, he got it wrong at Goodwood. Went too keen." Well, if he got it wrong on Cool Roof Luke, he got it double wrong on Tropical Storm. He went bonkers. He went completely bonkers off the front. He was the one that made the running in that race that allowed Michael O'Callaghan's horse to come through and win late on. All the ones up the front will just burn themselves out. I think dropping back to 5, he was good at Ascot. I know the form hasn't worked out as well as it looked like working out that day in the Norfolk, but I still think he was pretty good. This is a drop in class for me. Got to mention Ger Line's horse. He just wouldn't be coming to York if he didn't think he had a chance. He just doesn't bring horses over to Britain very often. So he's going to go well too. He's got loads of good 2-year-olds this year. Obviously, Barbouche, Red Letter, had another one that won last night that was really impressive. So I'd be very interested in him at the price, but Tropical Storm for me.
Okay, Tropical Storm then. Box 1. Back down to 5 furlongs, very, very quick indeed for Tom Segal. He's drawn next to, I might have a little bit on a horse called Fuji Mountain as well, who's drawn right next to him, who is absolutely rapid early doors, and he was in that same race. And again, the low draws, there's plenty of pace on those low numbers, Paul Kealy, which could make it interesting for the favourite, who's drawn in 13. Okay, just hearing that it's got so windy in York that Paul Kealy has been blown over. And we've lost him.
That would be a big gust of wind to blow Keels over.
I know. They thought
well,
those...
It sounded like somebody was hoovering up in the background, so I hope he hasn't been hoovered up by the vacuum.
I mean, it could well
Again,
be.
need a big vacuum, but
Yes, he could well have been. I don't know. Maybe he's finally left this mortal coil and ascended to heaven just before the Julia Graves Rose Stakes. Over to you then, John Hill, for this.
Well, I'm sorry I can't replace Keels. That's an impossible task. But I can say there's 4 places instead of 3. Magnum Force was the one that I landed on. As I say, I don't think they're coming over here. They don't think this horse is good enough. So 8-1 each way would be my play.
Okay, very well. Tropical Storm for Mike Boy as well, and Blue Zodiac for Nick Scallon.
He's interesting. I was going to mention him. Michael Bell's horse had no chance last time, but it showed a load of pace the time before. I think he's quite interesting at a price.
Okay, Blue Zodiac then at 12-1 for Michael Bell. And closing out with another 10 furlong handicap at York. 17 of them lining up. I think this was the race, wasn't it, that Phantom Flight beat Spirit Dancer in a couple of years ago, and they've obviously gone on to be decent horses, and plenty of other decent horses have won this and taken it as a springboard into better company. Ron O, what a year he's having, and he's 6-1. Paradia 7-1. Mahaba the Champ 15-2. Have Secret 8s. Oviedo 8s. Sebuska 9s. Timesius Fox at 9s. Rathgar at 10s, and bigger the rest. But again, first glance at this again, Tom, is that Rono's drawn in double figures, Paradias has drawn in double figures, Have Secrets drawn in double figures, and again, the 10 furlong races have definitely been dominated by those who've managed to tuck in over that far side rail. Is it going to be the case again in the finale?
It's funny, isn't it? Because, doing the Ebor earlier, I looked at the old The Epic Poet running it in the John Smith's Cup, and low draws were massively advantaged, and they still came over to the far side in that race. So it just seems that maybe at the start of the, they moved the rail out as well, so you're not on the chewed up ground. So maybe low draws are the way to go over 1.25 miles. It's not my specialised subject, as we were talking earlier. It's draws and draw analysis. Certainly wouldn't be my mastermind subject. But Rono has done absolutely. He loves York, doesn't he? It was amazing when he won here earlier in the season, and then he's run cracking races, 1.5 miles last time, wasn't it? And dropping back to this trip, I can see him running well. Paradius was really impressive, I thought, at Goodwood last time. I didn't fancy him at all after what he'd run at Sandown, I think it was, and he was really impressive. He just stopped and went up the far side, which was hard to do all week. And I don't know, I think he's going to run well despite the draw. Ab Secret's got loads of good form. I mean, I was watching, he was second or third at Royal Ascot last year. He's off the similar sort of mark, so he could go well. There's loads. But as you well know, I am an Ed Bethel groupie, as I say every week. And I am talking of Keels going over the board with Admiral D. I am Oviedo's. He's my clip horse too. And he was second or third in this race last year as a 3-year-old. And then he went on to run third or fourth in the Cambridgeshire from stall 1 when everything else was drawn 25, 30 and whatever. He ran a massive race that day. If he's back to that level of form, and this will have been the target, I think Oviedo's got a massive chance. So he's on top for me. But I love this race. I said it earlier in the week. It's one of my favourite races of the whole York meeting. I just think it's such a shame that we have this race here and we have some pretty moderate ones that are on the TV earlier in the week, because I think this is just an absolute cracker. But they obviously keep it back for the last race to keep everyone around. But I think it's one of the races of the week, and I'm in the Oviedo camp.
Okay, yeah, it is an absolute cracker. Yeah, I mean, there's one horse in here I thought was almost the bet of the day tomorrow, and then there's one that's, in your Admiral D and Oviedo for me. And the bet of the day, I thought Rathgar. I could not see this horse not getting involved here. I mean, he's run twice at York over 1.5 miles. He's placed both those times. They've been trying 1.5 miles. They've been trying 1.6 miles. They've been trying the 2 miles in Northumberland Plate. They dropped him back to 10 furlongs in the racing league, probably because there's loads of cash on the table, and he won at 25-1 over 10, and then he got chinned on the line by an informed horse at Chepstow last time out. He's low drawn, stays further. He's an improving 4-year-old. He's a prominent racer. He's in cracking form. I thought at 10-1, I couldn't see him out of the mix, Tom.
No, absolutely. Yeah, he's another one. Look, his style of racing will be perfectly set up for this, wouldn't he? I couldn't believe it. I did that racing league race, and it didn't strike me that he wasn't staying the trip. It just struck me that he was there because it was a racing league race and they were looking for runners, and then he went and won it. And I went back and looked at it and thought, do some more work, son. You missed that one. And
I think, to be fair, I think we all missed that one. Too hard on yourself.
You know what I mean? It just didn't strike me at all. Normally, like the one today, Canoodles had never run over 1.25 miles, but you sort of thought it could happen. I never really struck me that Rathgar was going to be that good over 10 furlongs, but he is. So yes, I give him a shot.
Yeah, David Probert's record on him is third, first, second as well. So I think he's going to go well. But I'll have to back Dual Identity, who obviously was badly drawn in the John Smith's Cup, got stopped for the entire final furlong and had no chance from where he was positioned at Goodwood either last time out. But I believe we've got Paul Kealy back. He's managed to look at that. He's picked himself up off the ground. What happened there, Keels?
Well, I was using our producer's Apple because it's supposed to be better sound, better picture, that sort of thing. But he didn't have it plugged in properly, and it died. So we're now using my cheapy machine.
Let's just have a second to consider that that was the head of video who forgot to plug in a laptop.
Yeah, well, we've got to blame him, and he's been winning fortunes this week as well, so he's been really irritating the entire 3 days that he's been here. So, but yeah, back on my cheapy machine. I have backed the Gerlines thing in the 2-year-old race. It's style over substance, but he's in the middle part, and like Tom said, he's got loads of good 2-year-olds, and if he's in the middle part and coming over here, he's got to have a right chance, I think. And this race, you've made the case for Dual Identity. I made exactly the same case in the paper tomorrow. Just drawn out of it both times. Drawn out of it first time and then never in the right position last time. He's been, he's a proper Sandown horse, I suppose, but he's been threatening to win elsewhere for a while. He's going to be a player. And the other one has to be Mar Harbour, the champ. One at the Dante meeting last year, one at the Ebor meeting last year. He's done the square root of bugger all in 2 runs so far this term, but he's gone for a wind-up. It'll be his 3rd wind-up, and he's run career best after one the last 2 times. So don't be surprised if he bounces right.
Okay, thank you very much. I've just got the calculator up on my laptop and tried to work out the square root of bugger all, but it's crashed. Anyway, John, see us out with the finale, will you?
Yeah, well, the Holder horse is the one that caught my ear. So Busku's fantastic form at York. He won a Group 2 here a couple of years ago. I liked his run at Goodwood last time. Only finished a length and a half behind the winner. That was his first run since March, so I think he'll come on from that. So, yeah, with that York form in mind to Busker, and we are giving an extra place here, aren't we? So we're going to be offering, 5 places instead of 4 in the finale.
Okay, very well. And also plenty of people in the chat, Keel, saying that you're absolutely steaming on the stream, despite the fact that you've said you've had to be sober all day, specifically because you're doing this show in the evening. And they call themselves judges.
I absolutely wish I was. I had 1 pint of Guinness at 11:30 this morning, and I've been drinking soda and lime and Diet Coke for the rest of the day.
Honestly, and you even said that earlier in the show, so all the information's there for you, and still people in the chat are picking the wrong...
I was designated driver as well. That was the worst thing, so I couldn't have a drink.
Oh dear. Anyway, right, that's the Ebor meeting sorted. We'll be back with the final naps of the week after this.
We're into the final bend of the Coral Fan Derby, where racing lovers of the UK are in a spectacular contest. And watch this, he's shaking his phone like it's a pocket-sized maraca. They're all getting rewards now. He's shaking it, she's shaking it, they're all shaking it. Play the free Coral Reward Shaker to win guaranteed daily rewards and offers. Coral, we're here for it.
Okay, then Ebor week comes to a close with the final naps from our panel, starting off with Mr. Paul Kealy.
Yeah, full of hope that Reaching High is a high-class stay out of making in the Melrose at 2:25.
Thank you very much. Tom Segal.
Well, Ross, as the only Yorkshire racing fan that hasn't been in Yorkshire this week, I hope you're going to make it to the Ebor tomorrow if you get back in time. I am, and if you do, back Dare to Hope to win the sprint. I'm not a great sprint man, but I was impressed with him the other day.
Okay, I'm trying to think. I'm already having a hyperventilating, having an anxiety attack about trying to navigate my way through York on Ebor Day. There. It's the night before, but I'll go for Rathgar in the finale to send us all home happy. John Hill definitely won't be in there. We don't let him into Yorkshire. John, what's the nap?
I'm keeping it very simple. It's audience in the City of York Stakes.
Lovely stuff. Thank you to our audience for the week. Again, absolute pleasure to do it for you lot, because again, without you, well, this doesn't exist, does it? So thank you to everyone, for Tom Leach, Mike Boy Disney account, and everyone else as well. If you haven't liked the stream, make sure you do so. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. And if you haven't backed a winner, good luck on Ebor Day.